Hey guys, per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. So like I said the other day on Twitter, don't get chopped up trading meaningless nonsense. We're triangling hard, we're consolidating. We'll take a look at a bunch of charts. So first thing you want to do is take the survey. Are we trending? I'll give you a few seconds. No, we're not trending, okay? We're not trending. That means you want to lean harder on things like Bollinger Bands or 5200 EMA crosses or triangles or other stuff that isn't Ichimoku Cloud. I'll show you why. We'll talk about that. Ichimoku Cloud is meant for trending. It's also meant for people who are trending or trend traders, such as me. You know, you have to identify who you are as a trader. Are you the breakout trader, the pullback trader, the blah 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 trader? If you're not the consolidation trader, which I think probably most of us aren't, you shouldn't be trading. Just because you're a trader doesn't mean you need to be making trades all the time, okay? Look at other stuff, go outside, throw a frisbee, do something else. So luckily we've had multiple triangles on high time frames in Bitcoin, and I'll get to the mother of all of them, the ascending triangle here, which was a beautiful case study. You know, if you weren't in Bitcoin at that time, if you want to talk about just absolute people going mad over sideways, just losing trades over and over again, trading sideways, especially when we're getting, you know, up in here. You know, this was a couple months of nothingness, okay? So this was 200 days of, that was a long time. Now, I don't think we're going to see 200 days again, mainly because of SegWit. When this hits, now there's no meaningful way for me to predict which way it's going to go. What I didn't put on here was halving, which was July 9th. We dumped after halving. This was Bitfinex. It was a black swan type event, I guess. Again, super hard to predict. Should everything go as planned, which I don't expect to happen, you know, that's like the null hypothesis. Nothing's going to happen as far as bad, so we should just blast off. Okay, but that means that the hard fork miner crowd goes silently into the night, which I don't think is going to happen. There's going to be some sabotage, something. I just don't expect it to go smoothly. Okay, so as much as I want this to be fine, I don't think it will be. So yeah, we had this triangle. Well, I'll talk about that a little bit more. Yeah, I don't think this is an ascending triangle. I saw Saj post an ascending triangle. It really doesn't matter what it is. We're consolidating. I don't have volume on here, but it's declining, definitely. We're going to be closer to the 40-day resolution than we were the 200-day resolution. You know, this could keep extending. We get like a lower low here, people go nuts, and then we just keep going, you know, kind of like here, just a long process. I don't think we're going to see that. You know, I think it's going to be closer to this because of SegWit for sure. And if we look at some more time-related hypotheses as far as how price is moving, I've talked about this a lot in a lot of articles and tweets, but it's so damn accurate, it's hard to ignore. So these are the OKCoin futures settlement dates, okay? For quarterly specifically. Basically the hypothesis is we are either up or flat, and it alternates, okay, per quarter, each quarter. So we're currently in a quote-unquote flat quarter. Now I put this up here and I look at it every quarter because it hasn't been wrong so far. So I fully expect this to be a flat quarter. However, again, SegWit, big variable, big wild card here. But this also is projecting, you know, after September, we're going to see up, okay? Very basic. Just something to keep in the back of your head if you care about OKCoin futures at all. This is the pitchfork, and a lot of people are talking about 1800 or low targets, which is fine. It's hard to disagree with that just because we could go anywhere. Before SegWit, we're consolidating. Now, typically, anytime you consolidate in an uptrend, that's a continuation. That's why, you know, I was screaming continuation here, and we didn't, arguably because of the Bitfinex stuff. So if you look at this pitchfork, the first thing that should strike you is that, yeah, we've obviously been outside of the long-standing pitchfork for a long time. Now, the second thing is looking at mean reversion. If you're talking about returning to the mean, which is the pitchfork median line, you know, we are due for a touch of the median line between now and whenever from now. But this is where it is. It's at 1500 basically. You know, and that'll keep moving up as this goes on. But you can't look at the pitchfork that's been happening for 3 years and say that we're never going to hit 1500. I don't know when it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen anytime soon, but you have to keep that in mind. You know, if we break down, that's an option down in here. And it kind of makes sense, again, based on the 1300 previous all-time high level. We'll see pit stops in here. But when you're analyzing consolidation, you're a fool if you don't look for both sides, okay? It's like preparing for a debate. If you only prepare for one side, your weakness is going to be not knowing the opposite of the other side, okay? So always make a roadmap. I'm definitely way more bullish than bearish. just super cautious because of SegWit and the shenanigans that are likely to occur. So again, if we break down, if we're pushing lows, look for that pitchfork median line. So here's B-bands, my favorite sideways indicator. It's also no coincidence we are at the pivot of the monthly pivots, right in the smack dab in the middle. Okay, this is actually not too hard of a squeeze, and I'll get to that in a second. I don't really know what this RSI channel's all about. I can't say I've ever seen it before. I tried looking it up. I can't really find anything as far as like to compare this to. Yeah, we're arguably getting hidden bull divs over and over again, but does that really matter? No. When there's a chart pattern, everything else just goes to the wayside for me. You know, cloud goes to the wayside. Again, I'll show cloud again later, but the triangle here is more important than anything, in my opinion, anything else, okay? And B-bands are sort of a measure of triangulation or consolidation. So these should continue to tighten. We should continue to just go sideways. I think we're gonna just go sideways until August, honestly. Completely possible here. So yeah, I don't know what this is about. Interesting to take a look at that. Just watch it. And if we look at B-bands on the daily, so these represent super squeezes down here. This is when B-bands got the tightest historically over the past few years. Going back to 2013, you can see we're due, if we're going to keep moving down, it's going to squeeze harder and harder and harder. Another thing I noticed, we've never had like an explosive move. The B-bands have kind of not gotten as wide recently, which you can argue is because of market cap, is because of whatever, but I think we're going to be due for a bigger, just a local high. You know, we're going to break a local high of B-band expansion eventually here. And should we get a super squeeze, definitely. We're going to break whatever this is, whatever that represents on price. You know, it's going to be crazy. So whether that represents 1200 or whether that represents 4,000, you know, I don't know. Historically, B-band trades for me are always 50-50, regardless of how well I think I know B-band. That's why I really don't like taking B-band trades in general. You know, when we were talking about this day, this was not a great day. We had broken out of B-bands on the daily. We'd broken out of the ascending triangle. It was a solemn day that I just sort of buried my head in the sand because I had posting all these ascending triangle charts. It looked like it was going to go up, looked bullish. Eventually it did, but Bollinger's rationale, John Bollinger, is like this head fake move where it digs in and then goes the other direction. So we may see that again. We may see a fake out, breakout below the daily bands. Again, this is why it's hard to trade bands. I just use them to know when to expect a move, but not necessarily which way to trade the move. The way that the B-bands work, though, is if there's a move below the median, this 20 MA, if there's a breakout below, you expect it to go down. If there's a breakout above, you expect it to go up. Again, that's hard to tell, especially when we're snaking in and out of. We're certainly creating a bearish bias being below the 20 for this amount of time, but it should just keep going sideways. So that's bands, and again, I'm always going to have more charts when we're sideways because I'm always analyzing. When we're trending, you know, we're at cruising altitude 10,000 feet, just got the cruise control on, nothing much to do but look for bounce point. But right now is when, in my opinion, everybody should be looking for targets, looking for support, looking for resistance, yada yada. Okay, so I posted this the other day, but this is a weekly cloud. You can see not much to say really. You know, there's no entry, there's no actionable signals here. I'm always concerned about dipping below the Kijun, which we've never done since the breakout. Okay, never hit the Kijun, never closed below the Kijun, I should say. So here's part of your support list. If you're looking for supports, when we're in free fall and you're deer in the headlights, you have to go to high time frame supports and you have to say, okay, the Kijun is here. We've never broken below the Kijun in 3 years or whatever it is. There's a reasonable expectation that we should bounce on the Kijun. So that's like 1600, whatever it is. And you know, I've always talked about squirreling around down in here. You can see when during the bear trend, we didn't really, but it's always a possibility. And it's harder to trade when it's in here because you're getting mixed signals on the TK lines. It's easier to see this on lower time frames when it happens, but on higher time frames it hasn't happened. Just hope that we avoid the abyss that is below the Kijun but above the cloud. That's hard to trade. Definitely trending up, but hard to trade. That's weekly. Again, never close below the Kijun, okay? And here we've basically stayed above the cloud barring Bitfinex, okay? This was an excellent entry signal when all this occurred, when we went above the cloud, when your signals flip back and forth. There's a video on this if you want to take a look. Also, we've hit 3K subscribers nearly. Congrats, Cloud family. So again, if you're looking for targets, oh, here's the bottom of the cloud. Interesting. Okay, you know, everybody's crying doom this whole way up, but we never broke below the cloud, and the same argument goes here. We've never broken below the cloud. There's no reason to think this trend is over until we do. This was obviously worrisome, but that was Bitfinex. Again, if you're looking for targets, if you're looking for support, cloud is giving you 1900-ish, which makes sense. When you're looking at just horizontals, resistance, support, okay, this is an important zone in general. It's also the bottom of the triangle, arguably. There's a 50% fib in here. The longer we just stay sideways, the longer this flat Kumo is going to get, the higher the probability we break down. Now, I wasn't saying that here. Again, I was historically bullish here. So we're set up for a FUD event to drop us a few $100 here. It can certainly happen. Again, I'm so wishy-washy on the TA here because it's sideways. I feel like it's just 50-50 in general. It's definitely leaning bull. So this is an important zone. I expect the 200 just pull up to here. It's going to take a few more days, but this is the 200 EMA. Again, 1600 kind of, you know, support resistance here. So an important zone. I don't think we're going to break past that should we break down, unless there's a hard fork or something crazy happens. Here's what the cloud looks like when you shouldn't be using it. Just getting snaking in and out of the cloud. You know, this is just a personification of consolidation on higher time frames. It's nonsense, garbly cloud signals. Okay, don't use the cloud when you see this. Or use the cloud, use the signals, take the trades, and just use stops that are tight. Because eventually this is going to play out in a big way, one direction or the other. I just don't think it's personally worth it to trade any of this right now. So I'm just going to stay out. Again, if you're talking about targets on a breakdown, we've never closed below the 200 since breaking the 200. That's huge. So if we dip down, you think we're going to close below the 200? I don't think so. So put some bids there or short to that zone, whatever you want to do. Again, not saying it's going to happen, but if it happens, get stuff ready. And if I'm looking at 4-hour just fractals, we're certainly set up again for this cross to occur on news or otherwise. So be ready. Be ready for that 4-hour 5200 cross. That's what we're setting up to do. And again, this is just another way of looking at sideways action. Like I said earlier, 5200, just get closer and closer and closer. Here's a bunch of ascending triangle analysis. I'm not going to go over this, but if you do think it's an ascending triangle, I'll put this in the description of the video. You can read all this and decide for yourself. So I talked about support targets. Let's talk about target targets. Did a great article last week, June 30th. Check that out, Brave New Coin. A couple weeks ago, I was talking about this inverted head and shoulders, and I've mentioned this a few times, but just because a chart pattern doesn't work out doesn't mean the target doesn't remain, in my opinion. So 3200, still a target. And you can see we had a breakout, a throwback, and then broke way down below the throwback diagonal. So obviously this didn't pan out. But again, I think the 3200 still remains, and this is a bit messy. But if you're looking for targets, either based on measured move, pivots, or fibs, okay, say you think this is the triangle, your measured move would be in the 3400 zone. If you think this is a bigger triangle here, your measured move would be 3600 zone. And I took the fibs from here to here. So we get a 1618 of, 3666 would be really interesting stop point just based on 666. People love that. Yeah, so I like this whole zone. Should we break up? This is probably low, but initially I think that's where it's going to go. So you've seen my roadmap. Let me know what you think. Hit me up on Twitter, Telegram, like, share, dislike, subscribe, and happy trading.